Indie Author Lab from the Alliance of Independent Authors is a brand new in-person event for indie authors during London Book Fair Week. Taking place in London on March 11, 2026, it's a full day of mentoring, workshops, and community connection. Created for indie authors by indie authors. Learn more and secure your tickets at selfpublishingadvice.org/indieauthorlab. Welcome to Self-Publishing with Ally from the Alliance of Independent Authors. This week, Anna Featherstone discusses production and distribution, guiding indie authors through the many ways to create, publish, and distribute their books. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Gatekeeper Press, your partner in independent publishing, empowering authors with expert guidance, 100% rights, 100% royalties, global distribution, and all-inclusive services, from editing to marketing. Gatekeeper Press, where authors are family. And now, here's your host, Anna Featherstone.
Welcome, and thanks for tuning in from your special part of this beautiful planet. I'm Anna Featherstone, joining you today from the lands of the Gadigal people, the original storytellers of this land in Sydney, Australia. And today's conversation explores what publishing can look like when it is led by purpose and deep respect for voice. I'm joined by Anna Borzi, who's the chair and director of First Nations Publishers. Anna brings an extraordinary breadth of experience to this work, from international investment banking, advising governments and global institutions, to growing up in Papua New Guinea and living alongside First Nations communities around the world. Over the past 4 years, though, she's become an amateur publisher, helping First Nations writers from across the Pacific share their stories. Welcome, Anna.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
This is so funny. It's going to be a bit confusing because we've got two Annas in the room, so anything could happen.
We're special.
Okay, so you've had a career in global finance, all sorts of interesting things, but what drew you into First Nations storytelling and publishing?
I'm just going to list them very quickly. I grew up in Papua New Guinea, and some people call it abandoned, but I like to say I left home at 6 months old. So much of my youth was, mostly all of my growing up years were in Papua New Guinea, and I did it from village to the towns. So I had an enormous relationship with the cultural diversity of Papua New Guinea, which is 860 different languages. Never had a television. I've never owned a television. I've always read books. And I kind of got to a stage in my life, I said, what am I going to do now? And the Stella Women's Awards in Australia were having their 10th anniversary. And I used to
for the literary prize. For people overseas, that's a literary.
Yes.
Yep.
And I always bought all their books. And each year, short listed and so forth. And I thought, I wonder about Pacific writers. And I found, this is like just summarising, no books. And I thought, I said I'll have that for Pacific writers so we can actually raise their voices to the world so people know who they are, their stories, their backgrounds. And I couldn't find any, not really. And so I thought, we'll just have to publish them. And so I reached out around the Pacific to have authors send in their manuscripts, and that's how it started. Yes, and this is our 4th year. And by the way, I'm speaking from Yuin country down in New South Wales.
Beautiful. I love how when you read books, they just lead us on different journeys and open our eyes to all sorts of different things. And you deciding to go and look for underrepresented writers to help them is, just brilliant. So tell me, how do you think about voice and ownership and representation?
Oh, I think the most important thing is we decided, for the director's name, which is, by the way, anonymous, and will remain anonymous. We decided we wanted it in their own voice. So we kind of And that's a term we use all the time. As they write it, it's not English literature they're writing, it's Pacific literature in English. And so we decided that everything, first of all, had to be in their own voice, and we also wanted to raise their physical profiles. So, that sort of fed into how I started, which was as a festival and then became a publisher, or how we started, I should say. I'm not on my own.
Yeah, so let's talk about, so you originally started by running a writers' festival. Explain a bit about that, like what did it look like and how did people apply or get invited and all those kind of things?
I reached out to people who published books that the judges said were okay by them. And because they look for culture and other issues contained in the books, they prefer the book. And there's a warning sign here, not to be whitewashed. So in other words, still in their own voice, as we keep saying. And so we reached out to some authors from the Pacific, and we reached out to people to also send in manuscripts. And that first year we had our inaugural book, inaugural short story, and we brought in friends who were Indigenous to Australia to also participate in that first festival. And for me, it was overwhelming to arrive there after so much hard work. But yeah, I'm used to learning, so.
And out of some of the books that came through the festival process and that you're publishing now, like tell us about one or two that have stood out to you.
Well, I'm not allowed to say anyone stood out any more than the other.
True.
But look, the first one was incredible. That was from the Solomon Islands, and Ambassador Caroline Kennedy. I sent a copy to her because she had just been to the Solomon Islands, and she wrote back to us with this 2-page warm response about her experience, about it was the Solomon Islands people who saved her father, and she was so thrilled to read this book. And she and her grandson, I think, had just swum the same area that her father did when he was rescued during the Second World War. So that had to be, for me, an absolute incredible standout. And then the second year, we had a prominent judge of Papua New Guinea write his memoir, not his memoir, the memoir of his grandfather, which basically tracked 100 years from an obscure village, no white man, to him, to this particular grandfather, uncle. No, it's grandfather. Sorry, I'm just on the top of my head. And, and the relationship this grandfather had with Queen Elizabeth II. And he has every award from her, right up to the Chieftain Award, which is the highest award you can get. This guy who'd been born in a little tiny cave in a mountain, and he sent in photos and we just included them. And so that is amazing. Look, each one is so unique. I'm one of the authors who is almost, a bestseller. That's Annie's Portrait. I'm just editing her second book, and I'm just amazed at her ability to share the deepest, darkest things that are happening in Papua New Guinea that she cares about, and that they all care about, and in her own voice. So you have to read it kind of carefully. So that's another one. I mean, all of them have struck chords with me, and of course memories as well for me, having grown up in Papua New Guinea, which their culture is related to others in the Pacific. But the most recent one, just to end on this particular point, is a young gentleman from the Philippines mountains region, and the Igorots, as he calls them. And he wrote a fantasy novel to share with the world the history and legends. Of course, people call them myths, but they're actually fact, right, in their mind. And so that is just, it's an amazing story. And we're about to go up there, and all the officials are coming out, and to celebrate the publication of this book.
Wow! And so you're going to be publishing that book?
We've just published it, actually. Yeah.
Right. So, and we'll include some links in the show notes so people can go to your website and find out more. But with that kind of thing, how do you? Let's talk publishing and distribution. So what kind of process do you go through you get the original manuscript, then take us on that journey about what happens next?
We've changed it. Until now, we've had it all happen in 1 month, which was too intense. We've done it for 4 years. We now accept manuscripts all year. The manuscript, untouched, goes to the judges. The judges used to all read all of them used to read the manuscripts. Now they just, one of them will read it and might even say to the other one, "Oh, you've got to read this," or something. But that's how that happens. Then they will make a financial award to that particular writer, and they're not all the same. Up to 5,000 Australian dollars. So they get financial recognition quickly for their work. Then what I call copy edit without using the pure definition. And there's been some errors, no question. There has been some errors, but I don't beat myself up about that too much. Some of them are difficult reads, some of them are excellent English, pure English. So I don't beat that up too much. Then we have a fabulous team. Am I allowed to mention another group?
How about, just mention it and we'll see how we go.
Yeah, called Busy Bird Publishing. They came on board almost immediately. They were recommended to me by Ingram Spark, who we use to do all our distribution. So they do typesetting and that sort of thing. And of course, we register everything to our ISBN and everything comes back to us, but they help us in the technical side. And then we go out through Ingram Spark, which...
So are you doing that print books and ebook?
No ebooks.
Just print through Ingram?
No ebooks. We only do printing distribution globally. Thank goodness, because our market share is predominantly UK and US, large.
Right. Huh. And is that what marketing do you do to help people discover the books?
Well, I've never been on socials before. I can tell you. I mean, it's like television, really, isn't it? Sorry, all the TV people out there. We're on all the socials, and I've found that works for us. And I'm constantly exploring new ways to get not only the brand, but also the books out there, so people... Now, one of the new things that's coming along with Ingram Spark, which is not set up yet in Australia, is they have direct commercial links. That should be hopefully up soon. And so
you mean so that you can sell the book on your own website?
Yeah, we do at the moment, but we link to Amazon, right? For want of a better method. And, it's worked. Sales are up every year, but... we want to sell direct because that improves royalties, and we take almost no royalties compared to the commercial publishers. And we're happy if they come along, by the way, and take any of our authors. We'd be, thrilled if an author was picked up by another publisher. That commercial thing enables greater royalties to go back to the authors.
I was going to ask about that. So after the initial prize, where their manuscript is first picked up, you do ongoing royalties after that for book sales.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And one of the reasons we kept a very modest percentage of the royalties, we've got a contract. I should have mentioned that. We contract them and we give it to them. We say, see lawyers, is because my concern was, and some of them should be movies, my concern was that some international person would come in and as an ex-investment banker, I wanted to make sure that they were protected. So we've got our foot on a small component of the royalties that we can then, it means we can make sure that they are protected from any avaricistic people who don't pay them appropriately, if you know what I mean. So, because they're not familiar with this industry in most of the parts that we publish from.
Wow. Okay. So so First Nations Publishers operates as a charity. Is that right?
100% charity, and we're all volunteers, except for, of course, people such as our fabulous typesetters. But they're not. It's very low cost. I understand what they're doing. They're not. It's a very low cost. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And does that take a lot of extra work having to be a charity instead of like just being a private enterprise? Like, do you have to report to the government, things like that?
Yes, but I think it adds a modicum of authority to it. We haven't had a huge amount of donations, which is very disappointing. But everyone knows that we're audited. The authors know the books, and everything is audited by a third party, accountants, and then it has to go up to and be reported to the government entity. And I think that brings, a kind of platform of honesty, not suggesting anybody else is dishonest, but of honesty to these people who have had a bit of a hard time with the old white people for the last couple of 100 years, right? So we go in and go, we've got a contract, this is how we operate, and so forth. Yeah. And I think that, for the moment it suits us. And it's not that hard. It's not that hard to do. Compliance isn't difficult. Just do the right thing and tell the truth.
Yeah, true. Do the right thing, people. About how many books are you planning on publishing this year?
We've just done, we've already got 3 manuscripts for 3 books. 2 left over from the May 2025 festival that we're just finalising now. And as I said, we've already got manuscripts coming in now for this year, so it could be up to 5. So it's a lot of work, a huge amount of work to pump this through and to try to get it right every single time on every single page. It's hard.
I suppose that's a good thing with print on demand using Ingram. Like if you find any major errors, you can go in and update those files. Have you had to do that?
We've had to do it a couple of times. We uploaded the wrong file on a magnificent, do you like crime? I love crime novels. And this particular book called Jewel, we uploaded the wrong internals and it went public.
Oh.
And this guy wrote this scathing review on Amazon, which we can't get rid of. So thank goodness he did. It would have been nicer if he'd just rung us and said, I think you've made a mistake here. But
yes,
it's an absolutely brilliant book, and it's set in Papua New Guinea, and it's action-packed, highly descriptive. You don't know what's going to happen next. And so we had to I had to go back and get the correct internals and upload those, and it's so
wow.
Yeah. It's not all easy.
So it sells. No. So how is it, like, how does a book begin to sell well? Like, are you spending a lot of time on the description, the back cover blurb? Like, how are people discovering? I know you've mentioned socials, but are they selling to like education, like university people reading them who want to know about Papua New Guinea? Or
the universities I've spoken to here in Australia, example, we have not been picked up at all, and I've offered discounts because, of course, we'd like to get the stories out there. That's the purpose of the charity, is to take their stories global, so people can know about the people of the Greater Pacific. So no, there's been sales in Australia dismal, which is a pity. So how do we get it out there? I pay for advertising on 3 lots of socials. Well, through the charity, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, me personally, because most of the funds raised from me. But that's okay. That's what I want to do, So we do a lot of that kind of advertising, but we're going to take a different path as soon as we get the commercial links available and so forth. Yeah. So advertising has been our biggest paid advertising. Has been, I mean, just recently, I'll just be very quick on this. I paid for Google with one of our shorts for the last festival. I just thought, I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to pay for advertising. So I sent it out there, and our sales exploded. They just loved this thing, and it took them to our website. And when I say exploded, I'm not talking hundreds, but, for us, they were good. And I take on board what you said, Anna, which, I listened to some of the audios you guys do. It's been very helpful because you're also confident. And I'm listening thinking, they're so clever. And
that's all the guests. It's all the guests.
And so, that's all part of it, really. It's just gaining confidence and taking ideas and running with them. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point for any listener out there. Like, we're all at different levels and stages, and it is just, listening a little, trying things, getting some things wrong, and just keeping growing.
Yeah. Every year.
Trying not to make every mistake because, if we do listen and read a few books, we quickly learn to avoid certain things. But just being open to, having that little bit of courage, I suppose, to try something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you saying it like that, because that's exactly the naive way that I have blundered into what we're doing now. But we're grateful, we're grateful that organisations such as yours, Ali, is that how you pronounce it?
Ally.
Yeah, Ally, that's even better. Are there and willing to share the knowledge so that other people can read magnificent books, Yeah, it's amazing.
I think that is like what is so wonderful about Ally and the whole indie author community is this willingness to share, to lift other people up, because we all do realize the power of stories
Absolutely.
that aren't getting published by traditional media.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's elevating those voices and giving a platform and a way, because the books you're publishing, they're not literary standards UK, because that's the whole thing. They're not meant to be. They're about real people in their real words, just so authentic and so different.
There's nothing else like them in the world. To me, that's like, I want to read that, because everything else is so homogenized. And yes, but just
so
go on.
Oh no, go.
I can't remember. I'm getting old. I'm so busy listening to you. Yes.
Well, I am looking, people probably can't see this, but you have some beautiful earrings on. Tell us
Oh,
about the
yes.
earrings.
Well,
Describe them and where they came from.
I get all these presents from these authors, and the families just mob us when we go to visit them in their own countries. And I mean mob in a good way because um, we have published their books and they are selling their books because we freight them up there so they can sell them to make all their royalties up there, as well as internationally, obviously, on normal distribution. And this beautiful one is made by, well, in fact, it's made by the wife of Marshall Enrico, who wrote I'm not just promoting one book here, anybody who's
Yeah.
listening. Um, he wrote the book Duel, which is the crime novel. And she was absolutely stunningly beautiful. And she handed this to me with a necklace, which I don't have on today. And they're from the Enga province. And, so these are representative of their province and in gratitude. And she handmade them. So what, what a joy, very, very humbling to have the gratitude of obviously fabulous people, highly intelligent and hand making, beaded jewelry for me to be able to then enjoy that. And coming from Papua New Guinea, I can tell you, growing up with this understanding that I can also feel the energy as I'm speaking from the earrings. Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it just so shows the circle too of what you're doing, how it moves through your community and reaches further out. Um, with all the translations now that are possible, are you thinking of actually translating any of the books back into native language?
It's a very good idea. Let's just take Papua New Guinea for the moment, not just Australian or across the Pacific. I can't remember. I did add it up. There's well over 10,000 different languages, 806, 10,000, that's not right. Well over 1,000. I think there's 300 in Australia, and I could be wrong. It's just my memory. And then you've got every island in the Pacific might have 2 or 3 languages. There's several in the Solomon Islands. So the thought of doing that is quite difficult, but many of them speak English, and maybe translating them to talk piss. And I just seriously do not have the resources or time to do that process and take it forward. I have to constantly, as do the judges, and we have to work to our resource cap, and that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
What are the lengths of the books that you are publishing? What's kind of the range? How many words?
Up to we've got criteria. It's on our website. And it's about 65,000 words for each book. But then when it comes to the First Nations anthologies, that may be less than that because we just do one of those every year for people who want to send in short stories. And they have a similar, except, of course, we don't take any royalty. We don't take any rights over short stories. They can just publish it again somewhere else. But we do take all the royalties from sales for those, and they get paid an upfront modest award as well. But they also get published, and we send them free books, so they can share it. Do you know, I tell this story, and if you've ever seen a young Australian Indigenous boy or girl, and someone from their country comes home and he's now a famous footballer, the young children are rigid with joy, with honor, with looking up to this person who has become a famous footballer, and I kind of see that same thing when we go and visit the authors that we have done so far, and you go to their town and their village or whatever, and the people are amazed that this author has produced this book, and a white person maybe, I don't know, I hope it's not still colonial left over, but is coming in and saying, here's this book and congratulations. And it's a raising up of a whole village is the way I like to express that. The same as raising up a whole community here on country, in whatever, in Australia. It's a raising up of those communities where they don't often have the opportunities to be able to do that. So that's very important to me in taking their stories, especially recording their stories. The Minister of Cultural Affairs, not the Minister, I beg your pardon, the Chief Executive of the Cultural Commission in Papua New Guinea sent me a letter saying thank you for recording our stories. And I wrote back and said, well, I'm not recording them at all. It's your Papua New Guinean people who are recording the stories. We're just a platform for taking those stories to the world. Yeah.
Wow. And it is what you were just saying then about when a football player comes back to a town or anything like, and I'm sure like in America and other places where our listeners are, it's that whole celebration of sports people. And I'm always thinking, but what about the artists?
Yes.
What about the writers? Like, why aren't they on the pedestal as well? Like, what about the doctors? Like, what,
exactly. Exactly. You're so right.
You need a mix of all, to celebrate. But it's lovely when authors get their time in the sun.
Absolutely. No, you're right completely. It's that, I'm happy for the footballs. I just don't watch it.
Yeah.
I'd rather read a book.
Yeah, exactly. Was there anything you overinvested on early in your publishing journey that you'd approach differently now?
Well, hopefully this won't get heard too much. We, on two occasions, we spent a fair bit of money on public relations to get our books out. And that's okay. It's part of the process. All of us, my fellow directors and other people learning. And it's good. We could go to how do we consider a success? But we got plenty. The public relations people were the most delightful, competent, high-delivering people. But we did not get one donation nor sell one book for that whole 3-month period. Fortunately, book sales are going up every year. So it taught me that public relations access. We had 51 million impressions from our media last year. Didn't sell a book, didn't get a $1 donation. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah. That's the big one, and we're having a discussion at the moment about whether we do any public relations at the board level, whether we do any more again. But I'd rather spend that, believe it or not. Don't tell him I said this on Facebook and Amazon and all the other places that we can actually spend money. We typically, with an advertising campaign, we will get several book sales. Of course, that does not cover the cost of the advertising campaign, but and we're kind of going quiet a little bit until Ingram Spark gets its commercial link up in Australia. It's already running in the US.
Exactly. Yeah, it's already overseas.
Very successfully, apparently, so I'm told.
Well, hopefully all the bugs will be ironed out before it comes to Australia.
Thank you, thank you, UK. Thank you, US.
And also, are you doing any talks and presentations so you can sell direct at conferences or at Rotary clubs? Or
well, we did host every year a festival. and sales were not great. And we filmed it and we put those out on the media, and we've obviously still got those. And that attracted a lot of sales, a lot of attention, a lot of brand building. And so I'm glad we did that. We're doing it different from now on, which we haven't quite announced. But we call it walkabout festivals now, which is a slang term in most pidgin-style countries. And walkabout festivals we're doing all over. You know, we're going to the Philippines in 2 weeks. We went to Papua New Guinea at the end of last week. We're going to various Melanesian countries to celebrate. They can celebrate with their families and so forth and so on. So we're doing a lot more of that. No one's invited us. Do you know someone who might invite, not us, but some of the authors? I mean, we pay the airfares, you know, because we have a purpose, which isn't just sales. We have a purpose for those books to get out there. And there's one thing that I thought that I haven't mentioned. Do I just have 2 minutes?
Yeah, of course.
I think we've got to, well, not we've got to, but I'm a research analyst. And if you look back at how the Indian literature took off, or how increasingly the Asian, and now I think we're at boom level for Indigenous people here in Australia, which is just wonderful. And if you go to Russia, I remember reading the Russian stories translated decades ago, and that boomed, right? And I think that we'll get to that level, and then all of a sudden it'll be a real takeoff. We've been invited by 2 international literature awards to submit books, and we did. I'm not going to say no. And look, if we get shortlisted just out of courtesy, I'd be ecstatic. And of course, if one of our authors won something, that would be really amazing. But
even like just to be invited, you get to publicize that as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I tossed up about whether or not we should tell you that. But I think there is this rising group of people around the world, in not just my age, but maybe a little bit younger, who will not think twice about buying a book from Papua New Guinea, India, London, UK, and I'd like to see more and more of that. Yeah. Oh, Africa's the other one that's exploding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think obviously like the work you're doing becomes like an early groundswell of encouraging writing in those places as well. So over time you get even more rich stories coming out with, interesting craft coming through it.
Yes.
So.
No, you're absolutely right. Far more sophisticated in literature than I am in describing it perfectly. And I think that's exactly, we'll get more and more of that over time. And more people who appreciate it. Much of the work that I've had a look at that's come out of the Pacific has been warning, whitewashed, academic. Nothing wrong with academic. Nothing wrong with whitewashing. But
maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. But our interest is getting as I keep saying, in their own voice. We just want their stories. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose there's always literary scandals every year. Someone says they've written a book that they didn't, or someone wrote it with AI. Yeah, what like with that in mind, with the rise of AI and people wanting to jump on bandwagons and all that kind of a thing, how do you ensure the authenticity of the works you're putting through?
All of them are checked against the authenticity book, and we do that before we hand out awards and prizes and all that sort of stuff. So that's the first thing. Is our stuff being stolen? Oh, I hope not. um, but there's nothing, I think I'm very strict about who has access to any of the core documentation and everything else. But yes, no, we do check, and it's formally checked. And I would write back to them. I haven't had to do it and just say you're struck off. Please don't submit anything further under any name. Also, everyone who submits something has to put in ID, certified ID. And we check all their socials or any other emails that they have to declare all of that when they send it in to us. So we can go and have a look at, do a background checks, and they know we're doing it. Should we disclose that on our website? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like an indie publisher. Have you ever written anything yourself, or are you thinking of writing any books?
Oh, people tell me I should write my story. But I wrote most of my career. Every day I had to get up and write at minimum four A4 pages typed that was distributed daily, every working day around the world. I used to have a huge following. And then on top of that, each year I'd publish 50, 100-page reports, research reports, and had to get those out, and, strategic reports for major banks, and you go in, rip them to shreds, put them back together, and they still like you. It's amazing. And then they pay you. So that's the sort of work I've done, mainly to do with business, because I've always been this kind of over-the-top hard worker, and that was so I have written a lot, but just not
on the creative side.
Not on, well, hopefully my memoir wouldn't be too creative. It would just be a fact. But but not on the story side as well,
Yeah. Well, at least when you finish your manuscript of your memoir, you'll know how to publish it. So it has been great talking to you. But what's something you'd like to say to the audience, either about publishing or helping other authors? Anything you'd like to say?
I'm a great believer in the power of words, and I would just encourage new authors or old authors even to write more stories, because stories reflect who we are and who society is, and it's on stories that whole nations are built and fall. And it is such an important thing to get those stories out there into the community everywhere. Don't just publish it, as I say to people in Fiji, for example. We're not publishing for the village next door. We're publishing for some person in Arkansas, in some town in Germany.
Aberdeen.
Yeah, Aberdeen.
Yes. Anywhere.
And you know what? There's somewhere in both those places that wants to read this story. So that's what has to happen. Just put the stories out there. Short story, beautiful. A short story a week could make a book.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. Well, Anna, we're going to put in the show notes a link to your URL for First Nations writers. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, your insight, and just for doing what you're doing, bringing these kind of unheard stories, because they're not untold, because they're being told in their countries, but unheard by so many in the West.
Yes.
Yeah. And also for reminding us that publishing can be very ethical and professional, and look after authors as well when you do it with real intention. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm so honoured to speak with the people from Ally and constantly listen to your podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And to all of you out there listening, thank you for being a part of our Ally podcast family. I'm Anna Featherstone, sending you the best writing and publishing vibes wherever you are. Catch you next time.
You've been listening to Self-Publishing with Ally with Anna Featherstone. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Gatekeeper Press, your partner in independent publishing, empowering authors with expert guidance, 100% rights, 100% royalties, global distribution, and all-inclusive services, from editing to marketing. Gatekeeper Press, where authors are family. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our organization and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.